This week we're going to talk all about how when scheduling just doesn't work for you. Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to this week's mini training. As you can see, there is a change of scenery. The picture is still there, it just doesn't look the same. That's what happens when you move house. So what I wanted to have a chat to you about today was about when scheduling doesn't work. So you'll see in previous videos I've spoken about how sometimes the best way to get things done is just to schedule time for it. So to block a time in your diary and be like, okay, at 11 a.m. on Monday, I'm going to record this damn video. It's finally going to happen. Now that's all well and good, but we were talking in the academy recently about how sometimes that just doesn't work for people. You know, you can have the best of intentions, you can break a project down into really tiny little steps, you can put those steps on a to-do list, you can schedule some of that to-do list in your diary, but it still just doesn't physically get done. And then there's a whole heap of other stuff going on behind that. So what I want to talk to you about today is what happens when you've put stuff on your schedule, but it still just didn't happen. And I'm going to share with you 5, maybe 6 things that I think you can try instead. So the first thing you can try, if you've had something on your schedule for a while but it still is not getting done, it's number 1, be really realistic about your schedule. So, for example, I know that I am the least productive in the afternoon. Like, I achieve nothing. In an ideal world, I achieve nothing after lunchtime. Like, if I was just running my own day, I'd work from like 7 in the morning, 6 or 7. I'm up early, I'm productive early. I work through till about 11 or 12, and then realistically, I get nothing done. Now, if I really force myself, I can get more done till about 2:30, but after that, I'm not useful. Scheduling stuff in the afternoon then would be a terrible idea because it's just not going to work for me. So if you're putting stuff on your schedule in the early hours of the morning, perhaps you've got the best of intentions of getting up and going at 5 before everyone else does, or even just 9 a.m., but you're really not a morning person, you're an afternoon person, well, you're just not being realistic about your schedule. So to start with, if you've got stuff on your schedule that's just not happening, start by being realistic about the timeframes. And point number 2, be realistic about the amount of things you schedule. If you're not getting a lot done at the moment, like me, right? I always have the best of intentions, and so I put 20 things on the next day. I'm not going to do 20 things. It's just not going to happen, right? And then what would happen is I'd get through 4 or 5, and then I'd be really harsh on myself because I'd be like, oh my God, I didn't do 20 things. Well, that was never going to happen. But 5's a really good, a really good achievement. So part 2, I want you to be really realistic about the number of things you schedule, which leads us to part 3. Start by scheduling just one thing. Just one. And not 3, not 5, not 12, just one thing. If you've got something that's been on your to-do list for a while, try scheduling it for a realistic time during the day when you're most productive, and just schedule that one thing. Nothing else on your diary for that morning or that afternoon. No client work, no meetings, nothing. Just that one thing. That's it. What if that still doesn't work? What if you find that you're procrastinating, or you get busy, or you avoid the task? What I want you to do the next day is try scheduling one different thing. Completely different subject matter. So if your one thing that day was to fix something on your website and you've been avoiding it, the next day I want you to set something completely different. It might be to do with course creation or social media or something else. And I want you to see if that thing happens. Because if thing number 2 happens, but thing number 1 didn't, then what that means is if you've got some kind of mental block around the first thing, you're avoiding it for a reason. If thing number 2 doesn't happen either, then it means that you've got a bigger problem. Perhaps it's the time of day that's really not working for you. Perhaps scheduling is just not your thing. Perhaps that putting other stuff first is not your thing. It's all a mixture of things. But if everything else is happening but not this one thing that you scheduled, then you're avoiding that one for a reason. And what I want you to do is sit down and ask yourself, why? Why are you avoiding doing that one thing that was on your to-do list? What is it about that one thing that is so scary? Is it that you don't know how to do it? Is it that you're not sure how it's going to work? Is it that once you've created that one thing, you have to put it out to the world and that's scary? But it could be a million and one things. But what is it that's really stopping you from doing that? So if scheduling is just not working for you, get really realistic about your timeframes. Get really realistic about the amount of things you try and schedule for yourself. Start with scheduling just one thing. Just put one thing on your diary for that day at a time that suits you, at the time of day that's best. So for me, to give you an active example of that, if I've got one thing I need to do for the day, I schedule it first thing in the morning. It's the only thing in my diary from the moment I get up. Because I know that if I do other things first, I will make those other jobs last as long as possible. And then I'll do the washing up, and then I'll put a load of washing on, and then it'll be the afternoon and I won't have done it, and I'm not productive in the afternoons, and suddenly it will be the next day and I still won't have done it. If it's something that I know I've been avoiding for a while, I have to make sure it goes very, very first thing before I do anything else. Otherwise, I will forever put it off. So I want you just to be really realistic about your timeframes. If you've got that one thing that you've been putting off, or you found that scheduling isn't working for you, just try and look at it realistically. Start with scheduling one thing. Work out a time frame that actually works for you. Ignore what everyone else says about being productive. Maybe mornings aren't for you. Maybe nights aren't for you. Just go with the flow, peeps, and do what works best for you. So that's it for today, but I'd love to hear from you down below. Tell me what works for you when it comes to getting the most out of your day. You're a morning person or an evening person? Do you need to get it all done at the front or all done at the end? What works for you? And as always, guys, I will see you in the next video.